feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good and rainy Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com. Driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. And you can always find us on the JB and Goldwater app and head to jbandgoldwatershow.com. Across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater, and individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat line's fired up and ready to go. It's only 12:02, and we appreciate that. ShareHealthcare.com as well. A lot of .coms to get you started every day around here, but that's where you need to go to find folks these days. Share Healthcare, more affordable, more options, user-friendly, as low as $149 a month to take care of the healthcare needs for your family. ShareHealthcare.com. All of you are part of our family, and we're certainly glad to have you around here. And we're certainly going to be happy to have David Cloninger, John Blau, and David Shelton today. We might have just renamed this the Post and Courier show because all three of them work for the PNC, but all three of them covering different areas and aspects of it. Cloninger, of course, with the Gamecocks. Hoop season set to go. Carolina football is off this weekend, but he's been spending plenty of time around the coaches over the last few days. We're going to get an update from David. John Blau will preview this weekend's Clemson-Florida State game, which holds literally no water nationally, which is unbelievable. It was just a short time ago when this was turning into one of the better rivalries in the country. Certainly, at that point in time, probably the best rivalry in the ACC from a football standpoint. But both have struggled, certainly, here in 2021. David Shelton will get us teed up and ready for high school football tomorrow night. It's the final weekend of the regular season, and then playoffs are set to go. Who's hosting playoff games? What do all these regions look like and things like that? It's going to be a big, fun conversation with David Shelton. We got our college football resume to get to today, Darren. And, yeah, I see what's going on over there as well. I saw it last night. Certainly doesn't look good for the future of Penn State football being led by James Franklin. He hires Jimmy Sexton, and now he won't really answer any questions and tells everybody there's a lot of moving parts about his future. Well, that kind of leads, you know what, Darren, I'll be honest with you, man. I'll be honest with you. I would almost rather a coach do this like Franklin is doing than like if he's open to having these conversations or is having conversations, because you only have three ways to do it. Hey, I'm leaving, which nobody says that. Or kind of sidestepping it like James is doing it now, or just flat out denying it and saying, no, I'm not going anywhere. And then all of a sudden he's gone. Or he's not gone. But there's really only three ways to address it. Certainly looks like the James Franklin era in Happy Valley might, I don't know, be coming to an end sooner or later. But there's still football to be played. All that being said,
let's say this, right? Franklin is an expert at leveraging his position for more money. He's done that multiple times. Does it look like something is going on? Of course it looks like something is going on. He has been regularly mentioned in coaching carousel circles almost every single year. Last year, it was Texas, and it's been Southern Cal even before Clay Helton was hired and then during the Clay Helton era. Jimmy Sexton has ties to the SEC that are super tight. He has ties with Scott Woodward, the LSU AD, that are super tight. Like he is Jimbo Fisher's agent, that type of tight.
Yeah.
But all of these moving parts are strange because why go get a new agent when your old agent's been getting you more money like virtually every single year? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if James Franklin's going to be gone. And honestly, if you're James Franklin, I am not one of the Penn State fans who's been shouting, fire James Franklin, but there is a large portion of the fan base that has been shouting that.
Yeah.
I disagree vehemently with that notion, but it gets old, right? If I'm a guy sitting there having success, winning a Big Ten title, going to 2 or 3 New Year's 6 bowl games and winning 2 of them, competing, being around the possibility for a Big Ten championship, rallying from an 0 and whatever start last year to have them in the top 10 and winning big games this year and then falling on your face. There are a lot of elements to this story with James Franklin. I don't know how it's going to play out. I know he's an expert at leveraging stuff for money. If I'm James Franklin, I am getting a little tired of the constant, hey, you guys are winning 9 games. You're getting close, most of the time. I'm done with you. I would get tired with that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's certainly an angle there to leverage some more dough. And if Penn State really wants him, and he's at least publicly saying I'm open to going somewhere else without saying it, maybe that means we're going to pay you more, or that means, well, maybe you should just move on. And then he's probably got something secured if that's the case. So one way or another, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and one of the moving parts is the rest of this year, because they could easily go out and fall on their face this weekend against Ohio State. They could just as easily go out and play very well and have that Illinois game kind of as one of those strange blips on the radar that have tainted his resume at Penn State. That's possible if Sean Clifford is actually healthy. And then from there, what happens? If Penn State goes out and, I don't know, goes 500 the rest of the way, is the luster off? Does he want to go? Does he want to stay there? There are a lot of moving parts. He's right. There are.
Yeah, well, I mean, Walter asks, it's weird that Penn State isn't in the same realm as USC and LSU. Scandal aside, Penn State is a staple in college football. It's interesting how you worded that, Walter, because although publicly right now that's the way it appears, I would replace a couple of your teams there. I don't think Southern Cal's in the same realm as Penn State and LSU. Put it that way. I Southern Cal of those 3 would be the last job that I would take. Now, if you leave Penn State for LSU, your life did not get any easier from going from the Big Ten East to the SEC West in any way, shape, or form. But if you're James Franklin, unless he just has some, which we all do, some great desire to do something others might not want to, I don't know why you would go out west to Southern Cal outside of the fact that it is much easier to win the Pac-12 than it is the Big Ten or the SEC. But as far as what job would I want, yeah, like if you're what type of atmosphere do I want to be in, Penn State or LSU or Southern Cal? Oh, yeah, it's not even close. It's not even remotely close. And I would say Penn State and LSU are pretty even. I mean, 100,000 people, rabid fan base, plenty of money, great leagues, all the football players you want. They're very comparable to me. So
they are.
But one's warmer and one's a lot colder. So that's
a very good comparison. Tailgating scenes are very, very similar. The students are just as rabid, massive stadiums, massive fan bases. There are a lot of parallels. I think Penn State is one of, I don't know, 5, 10. It's probably not 5, 10, probably 15. One of the 10, 15 best jobs. I think Southern Cal's in that group.
Penn State. You're saying Penn State one of the 10 or 15? Oh, you're saying 10 or 15? I think it's one of the top 10.
Fair.
Oh, easily
Okay.
One of the top 10. Yeah.
So it's a good job. I absolutely is. I think the right guy at Southern Cal, and I've said this many times, can get Southern Cal there. And I do think James Franklin could be a very, very good fit at Southern Cal. It's just, what does he want, right? I mean, are you done with Penn State? Are you ready to take your family out of your home state that you've been very comfortable in? Are you ready to go out west? Is that a challenge you want? I don't know. You tired of the fans? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I know one thing. David Cloninger will jump in here in a moment, and what we haven't gotten to is what happened last night in the World Series. The Braves lose Game 2. We all figured this thing would probably be split coming back to Atlanta, and it is. It was Houston's night, and it was early and often. 7-2 the final. Max Fried, his second consecutive start that hasn't been great. Now you got to credit Houston and their hitters. They're the best in the league for a reason, but breaking ball wasn't there for Fried. That's got to happen for him, and it didn't. And they're going to come home tied at 1 apiece, and it'll be Ian Anderson on the bump on a Friday night from what will be a raucous Truist Park over at the Battery in Atlanta. Luis Garcia, whose last start is generally what you're as good as, your last start, he was pretty good. Before that, he wasn't. So they're going to hope that they get last start Luis Garcia for the Astros. The Braves are going to hope that they get Ian Anderson's best, and they can find a way to get up 2-1 in the series. David Cloninger is a big Braves fan. They're back in the Fall Classic for the first time in 22 years, trying to win it for the first time in 26 years. And I just hope and pray that you're as happy as we all are, David, that they have a chance to do it here over the next week or so. What's up, man?
Oh, not too much. Jamie, I'm definitely happy with the situation. I'd much rather be playing than not. And I guess I can't really complain about, coming home from Houston 1-1. It could be a whole lot worse.
Oh.
I guess I'm just a little perturbed that Max Fried was the best pitcher in baseball the second half of the season, and he's gone to the mound in 2 big postseason situations his last 2 starts, and he has been terrible. And, it was quite disturbing. I might have said a few things I regretted last night. I won't go into them here, but I will say that it was very appropriate when just at the apex of my anger, old Joe Buck's over there, and he says, well, Max Fried's ahead of this battle. He's got no balls. And I'm like, agreed. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Tomorrow should be a festive atmosphere, even though the weather looks kind of bad. It looks kind of cold and rainy over in Atlanta. So we'll see what happens, if there is a game at all, or how the Braves come through it. But, yeah, that's got to win 3 more. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, David, I think that that there's a lot of credit, and they haven't won it yet, and obviously that's what it's all about. But they're in it. I mean, it's been 22 years, and Atlanta has been kind of rebuilding this organization for a while now. But they've also won 4 straight divisions. Of course, this isn't dead yet. My note from a couple of weeks ago is still intact. The last time the Braves won 4 straight divisions, the 4th one they won the World Series, that was the 4th of 14 straight. So maybe a good omen in the cap of Atlanta right now. But, I mean, with all the rebuilding they've done, David, and then you get into the middle of the season and you get word that Acuna's out. Okay, there's definitely not going to be any Soroka. Ozuna, not going to see him in a Braves uniform again. I mean, they had some issues to deal with, had to rebuild the entire outfield. And then Alex Anthopoulos, after all this building they've done for the last few years, thinking that they had done that already, had to go out and make more deals to try to patch it together. And so I give Atlanta a ton of credit. I mean, they've reinvigorated the Braves standard, which is winning, and now they get a chance to win it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And me, who is not an Alex Anthopoulos fan, it's amazing that he made all of these moves that actually worked out after spending the entirety of his time before that actively trying to destroy this franchise. That has worked out. I will say, though, that it is still disgustingly infuriating that he let Freddie Freeman be unsigned starting the season, that he let it carry through the season, and that he wasn't on the field with a blank check the minute that his home run against Milwaukee landed in the stands. That's where he should have been.
Yeah.
That's where Alex Anthopoulos should have been there and said, buddy, what do you want? Big guy, we can't do it without you. What do you want? Name it, sign it right here, and I'll do it. He didn't do that.
Have you forgiven him a little bit?
I'm not going to forgive him until the situation's resolved. And the only way it's going to get resolved in my favor is if that big galoot gets signed.
Yeah.
He's facing his franchise,
Yeah.
And especially, let's just say that they win this thing and he's World Series MVP. Well, he's going to get the sun and the moon from every other franchise, particularly San Diego, where he's from. Well, not where he's from, but where he grew up. And, they're going to try for him. So it's like, it's bad that you let it get this far. It can still be resolved, but it needs to be resolved quickly. So we'll see what happens.
Well, my feel, DC, is they're not going to let him go. And for two reasons. One, the Braves have always needed a face of the franchise, and you're right. He is the face of the franchise. But on top of that, probably more than likely starting next year, which, by the way, everybody count down the next few games because it's probably going to be the last time for a long, long time, if ever, that you see pitchers hitting as part of the new collective bargaining agreement. There's more than likely going to be a DH in the National League, which I'm not a big fan of. But, David, that will bode very well for Freddie Freeman towards the end of his career because you won't have to play him every day out there at first, but you can still use his stick. I'm quite sure, hopefully, that Alex Anthopoulos and the rest of that organization understand that.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, you would hope so. But, again, I've not been much of a fan of this guy since he took over. Maybe it's just me. It's my all-time favorite team we're talking about, and, of course, it's always under a microscope. But, I mean, I give him credit. He went out and he made some moves, and at the time, those moves didn't seem to be that good. The one I was most excited about was like Adam Duvall. I'm like, well, good. I mean, you got him back, so we'll quit killing us. And every time I played that guy, he was killing us.
That's true.
It was like, and that just seemed like a move of like, okay, just wipe out that possibility. But the rest, I was like, Jock Peterson ain't doing squat right now. Yeah. I've never heard of this Eddie Rosario, always on the DL for a month. And then Solar, which I was like, well, I remember him. I mean, he had a couple of good at-bats for the Royals. Post-15 Royals, I was like, okay. But, it all worked, and that's part of it. But, yeah, the thing that's gotten me all season was like, why is that dude still inside? But they got to go do it. They know what they have to do. And as you mentioned with the Ozuna situation, that guy should never play in a Braves uniform again if he ever plays at all.
Right.
And maybe they get some money back on that. I'm not sure how all that works. But the main thing is like, all right, look, that's all, you got at least a week to think about that. In the meantime, as scheduled, you've got a weekend series here. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, go out and win it. I mean, you've got the opportunity. I would rather not have to go back to Houston, but if you got to do it, do it. But you've got an opportunity. And losing Charlie Morton certainly didn't make this thing easier.
How about this stat? That was the first time in 1,097 days a team has won a World Series game in their home park, because last year it was all played at Minute Maid.
Yeah.
And, I mean, only the Braves could lose their top starting pitcher to a broken leg on a comebacker. Only the Braves could happen. I mean, I expected like, maybe, he's got a bruised ankle.
It could happen to the Gamecocks too, though.
Yeah. Well, that's probably true. Yeah. I mean, every time I say only this could happen, it's usually in reference to South Carolina or Atlanta. But they're here. They're in a good spot. Rather be tied 1-1 than down 0-2. So you just got to come back home tomorrow and go out swinging. Go out swinging.
We talked to Coach Holbrook yesterday. It's the perfect time for his old phrase from when he was at Carolina as part of that World Series winning program then. Win anyways, because right now the Braves, if you think about it, they are 1-1. That's the big picture, and the bigger picture is that they are home for the next 3. But in the middle of all that, we need to remember some very important information, which tomorrow night isn't going to matter, but it will in games 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that's what you just mentioned. Charlie can't pitch, and Fried hasn't been pitching well. And those are aces 1 and 2 for Atlanta in the postseason. So how do they figure it out if this thing stretches itself? The best case scenario, as we all know, win the next 3 and get this damn thing over with. But it ain't that easy against the Houston Astros. So Atlanta, Houston is not lights out from a staff standpoint. I mean, their starting pitching has its issues. So I think that you're probably going to see some numbers in this series as it goes on, David. We'll transition to the Gamecocks here in just a second. But, offensively, I think both Houston and Atlanta are going to probably start to put up some pretty interesting numbers in a World Series, which is generally not exactly what you see.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's just because Houston's staff has had its issues all year. They've been carried by their offense. And, with Atlanta, it's been pretty much half and half. I mean, they've had some good, strong pitching, but nothing really sustained. Freed wasn't good at the beginning of the year. He was good at the second half. They had some guys start the first half of the year like Drew Smiley, who was okay, and he's just been getting progressively worse and worse. But their bullpen has been amazing. I mean, Tyler Matzik, who saw that coming,
Yeah.
So it will be a case of I think each team is going to have to go to a couple of bullpen games. Where it's unfortunate for Atlanta is that, well, if you were thinking of bringing back Morton on 3 days rest to start game 4, that's out. And he's not going to pitch game 5, obviously, even if he was fully rested. So what do you do? And they did call up, was it Tucker Davidson or Donaldson Davidson to take a pitcher's spot. So I'm thinking he's probably going to start that game. But you're faced with the reality, games 4 and 5, you might be pitching a bullpen game. And that is not a good thing to have to do. But you just got to get through it. I mean, things happen, and you just got to deal with them. So we'll see how it goes. Ian Anderson on the bump tomorrow. And it's like, okay, kid, I mean, you're here for a reason.
Yep.
So don't be afraid. And just go out there. And the main thing, whatever you do, stay out there. Go 6 or 7 because you've got to save this bullpen.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I totally agree. By the way, John Smoltz calls pitches from the press box, and it is beyond impressive. He is unbelievable at what he does up there during the games. I love John Smoltz.
If it was possible, I'd say, geez, Johnny, just go grab number 29 out the trophy case and give us another start. Come on.
I love John Smoltz, one of my favorite players ever. All right, DC, you mentioned, just trying to put it together and figure it out, and it's kind of what Carolina's trying to do. They're off this week, which is good. They can't lose.
Fortunate.
Believe it or not, this Saturday, they're going to have only about 15 less yards than they had in the first 3 quarters last Saturday. It's amazing. They're not even playing. Coaches are on the road and things like that, but it's a tough time, DC. Generally, you go into an off week, you like to go in with a win. Sometimes you go in with a loss, and you got to fix some things and get ready to go after that. Right now, I don't even know if they know exactly what to fix. What's the vibe like around the facility?
Well, of course, they're going to say all the things in public that they need to say. We believe in ourselves. This is a great group of young men, and that's all true. They do. Just checking around behind the scenes, of course, they do still believe. But there's a lot of discouragement over there, which you would expect, because not only are they not winning as much as they want to, but there seem to be no answers for this offense. And there's problems all over. Nobody can specifically say what it is, if it's the scheme, if it's the calls, if it's just the players not executing, if it's something else going on, but there's obviously a problem. And the discouragement comes in from, getting ruined last week at Texas A&M, which I think we all knew, guys, Gamecocks weren't winning that game, regardless.
No.
But you can't get, 15 yards of offense in 3 quarters and be down 44-0 before you ever actually start playing well. So there is discouragement from that, and there's more knowing that if this was how it looked in the preseason, you'd be looking at these next 4 and be like, well, the season's going to be over anyway, so what's it matter? But things have changed, and these next 4 games, none of them are unwinnable. Not a one.
Right.
So the discouragement comes in from look, you can win all of those 4 games. You can.
Yep.
But you got to score some points to do it.
Yeah.
And right now, the answers on how to do that are not in front. Now, we ask tough questions because that's what we have to do. And, of course, the first things after A&M were like, Shane, are you going to make any staff changes? Are you going to help out with the play calling? Do you trust your assistants? Absolutely, I do. There's no thought of me changing assignments or anything. Okay. And obviously, he can say that now because he didn't have a game the next week, and there was not going to be a full week of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Will that change this week? I doubt it, but it could.
Okay.
The main thing, though, is that he hired his guys. He's going to trust them to do their job. And you just have to hope that some kind of, communication, some kind of, let's just call it magic. Something clicks. And it's like, okay, They can actually do what they do. They look like they know what they're doing. It may not work, but at least there's a plan. At least it's just not knee-jerking. At least it's not anxiety-ridden and just spastic for how they approach an offensive game plan. Because that's what we've all seen this year, and it has been ugly. So, everybody going to talk about Zeb Noland, and he's coming off knee surgery. They say he'll be available for the 6th. We'll see how that goes in practice. It is just my opinion, fellas, that whether Zeb is healthy or not, and no disrespect to him, but Jason Brown needs to start. Just because if you put Nolan back there, you're going to just telegraph it for the defense. They'll do just what A&M did.
Yeah.
Back the box, send 4 every play because he can't move. He can't.
Yeah.
And they know if they stack the box, the offensive line will, A, not be able to keep the rushers off of him, and 2, can't open up any holes. So, to me, you got to give Jason Brown that shot because I know he made some mistakes. I know it was against the second-string defense, but he made some things happen, and he can move. That's why you got to put that guy out there. That's my opinion. Who knows what we'll see in practice, but you've got to put that guy out there to give yourself a shot.
You're not the only one with that opinion, DC. I mean, there's a lot of people that share that. I think now, as we've seen what's unfolded with this offense specifically, I don't know. I personally don't believe, and the information that I have is one of the main reasons I don't believe it, that Jason Brown is the best quarterback at all. But to your point, I certainly believe that right now it's about survival. And, I'm not figuratively and literally right now. I mean, last week, poor Zeb Nolan, I didn't know if he was going to make it out of College Station without an ambulance. I mean, it was tough to watch. Let me ask you this. And I know what everybody's response is here. And I have a feeling that part of your response is going to be that, quote, it's just who he is. But, I think that obviously fans are frustrated. If they think they're frustrated, imagine how frustrating it is for the players and for a lot of others in this program. But, they hear Coach Beamer be asked these questions each and every week by you and others in the media. And Shane basically says what you said. Nope, not thinking about it. Nope, I have confidence. He turns everything into a collective. We all need to do better. And he tries to stay as positive as we can. And fans see that as he is, either oblivious to the situation or whatever. What do you know about how he is trying to deal with this and correct these issues behind the scenes? Because people don't get to see that. They only see him on camera.
Right. And obviously he's not going to throw any of his coaches or players under the bus in public. I mean, you're going to lose the whole team if you do that. He's saying what he has to say. But has there been any changes or say, hey, well, I'm going to help out with play calling this week? There hasn't. There has not. I mean, when he has said that, I trust Marcus, I trust him to make the play calls, we just got to – that's happened. That's what has been the story. And maybe there is some frustration there. I mean, I know there's some among the offensive coaching staff just because, why do you keep banging your head against the wall expecting a different result? Mm-hmm. But this is what it is. And, once he makes a decision, they say, okay. And, you may not like the decision, but you're not going to let that warp your preparation for the game. You're still going to go in there and try to put together the best plan possible and put it out. And that's what they've done. And has it worked? No. But you got to keep doing it. And, there are some reasons why this offense struggled to get out of the game. There are. Luke Doty was hurt, and you had to basically revamp everything to get a 24-year-old grad assistant turned quarterback into your system, and that he can't run. So you had to revamp that, and then you had to redo it when Luke came back, and Kevin Harris hadn't been really healthy the whole season, blah, 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 blah. There's been reasons. The problem is, though, is that once you take all that and you start to form it together by game 4 or 5, you should look like you have a plan, you have an identity, you know what you're doing, and they don't.
Right.
They absolutely don't. There's been some things they've tried to do consistently since midseason, attack the edges more, try to get the ball to the guys that need to have the ball. Jaheim Belt being a noticeable example.
Yeah.
But then there's been more inconsistency. Running the fullback worked at Tennessee. Why haven't they done it since?
Right.
They say, we got to get the ball to Zaquandre White. Okay, great. I think he should too. And he has the past 2 weeks. Why didn't he touch it the past 4 weeks before that?
Yeah.
Josh Mann And I don't think it's his fault or the quarterback's fault at all. But he's turned into a really solid player, but defenses know that now. And they're double covering him, and it's tough to get the ball out. I mean, the main thing I look at, too, is that the Vanderbilt game, after that dreadful call down by the goal line on 4th and 3, I thought Marcus Satterfield actually called a pretty good game.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't his fault that Marshawn Lloyd fumbled. It ain't his fault that they hit Jaheim Bell for a long game down the seam and one of the linemen held. That's stuff that you can't blame the play call for.
Sure.
The problem is there hasn't been enough of these situations to where you can definitely say, well, the play call was there. They just screwed it up.
Right.
And honestly, guys, from an offensive coordinator standpoint right now, I don't know what you can scheme when you know your line can't block. There's just not a whole lot you can do in that situation. And that, I think, to me, is the biggest issue of this entire season. What happened to this offensive line? Because it's not just, they're just not playing as well. It's that they've regressed.
Yeah.
I realize it was a different scheme last year, but you're only missing one guy off that team. Only one. One guy cannot make that much of a difference among 5. It can't, and yet somehow it has.
Yeah, I mean, and the issues up front, DC, are there's so many of them. I mean, the tackle positions have been porous. You've also had, as we've had all year long, and these are the things that do come back on the OC when you're 8 games in and you still have communication problems. You got a tackle and a guard blocking each other. Yeah, you can't. That doesn't. Hey, the guy on the other team is who you need to be in front of, not me. Those are the things that generally fall back on the OC as they should, but. Communication, lack of talent, lack of speed. There's just a lot of issues up there. So I firmly believe Marcus Satterfield is at fault for a large majority of what's wrong with this offense. But as you pointed out, it's also noteworthy to make sure we all notice when guys fumble the football or drop the football and things like that. They're not being taught to fumble and drop. They just are. And it's just right now it all stinks.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jamie. And the fact is that with the offense continuing to regress and show no signs of progress, no signs of being able to mount a sustained drive and get some points on the board, the defense is getting worn out. And they have played well for the majority of this season.
Yeah.
But they had a real stinker of a quarter at Tennessee. And I'm not blaming the defense for them being behind as well as they are. I'm blaming a really stupid play call. I mean, maybe you can say, then it only would have been 28-7. Whatever, man. At least it would have been some points on the board.
Right.
But defense has gotten worn out. I mean, you saw it last week. I mean, you can't just keep going out there, playing your butt off, getting all worn down, lathered up, and it's like, okay, all right, here's what we need. Oh, you're back on the field.
Yeah.
You can't just keep seeing these 3 and outs. So they got worn out. And A&M's a really good team, but you saw it. I mean, they were stopping the run pretty well early.
Yeah.
They were there. They were in their gaps. And then all of a sudden it's just, you get worn out. And trying to tackle 2 guys who can gash you for 100 yards, that gets tiresome.
Yeah.
So it does do the team a disservice. And now, I mean, maybe it's just the way things are going, but special teams, which has been really good this year, they've had a couple of yips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they've been big. A&M's first touchdown.
Yeah.
Punt return for a TD. Like, come on now. And what was it because? Missed tackles.
Right.
Elementary stuff. So, yes, they ended up blocking a field goal in that game. Hey, great. Awesome. But it don't really help when you're down 35-0.
No.
So it's just, I wish I could say what I want to say on the radio, so I'll just have to clean it up a little bit. But when things are going horse crap, they're really going horse crap.
Yeah.
You just can't do nothing about it except ride through it. And that's what you hope. The bye week at least gives a chance for some guys to get healthy, to rest some, nagging injuries. But, I mean, it's not going to do anything if this O-line doesn't know how to block against Florida. And they're going to know real quick if they can or can't. So we'll see what happens. But to me, I'm anticipating going press conference and all that, checking in at practice, all that next week. And I hope I'm seeing like, Zeb's out there, but he's still kind of gimpy, so it looks like Jason Shubb. Like, okay, just don't make it a controversial thing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we chose Jason over Zeb. It's like, hey, let's make it easy. If Zeb's hurt, Jason starts. Real simple.
I agree.
And maybe that'll be the case. I think that's probably the most likely option just because meniscus or not, I don't know of a lot of people who can get surgery on the knee on Tuesday and be ready to play, let's see, what is it, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days after. I don't know a lot of people who can do that. Maybe can. I don't know. But to me, you got to give Jason a shot and just see. Because, look, if this line don't learn how to block and Zeb's back there playing on a hurt knee, man, it's going to get ugly. And it's already been plenty ugly already.
I totally agree. There's every reason in the world right now that we should probably expect to see Jason Brown as a starting quarterback against the Gators at night. It's probably going to be chilly in November at Williams-Brice Stadium, and who knows what could happen. I do know hopefully there's a lot of butts in the seats. DC, we got to let you run on that note, but next week we're going to have you back because not only will it be the Gators and the Gamecocks, we also will get into a lot of hoops. I know you've spent some time with Dawn this week. Frank is fired up and ready to go. I think everybody's excited to see what Gamecock basketball looks like this year. The ladies, of course, added a boatload of talent to an already incredibly talented roster. Gamecocks have totally rebuilt theirs for the most part. So there are a lot of things to get into. And we're gonna keep you around a long time next week. So clear your schedule, pal.
Oh, yeah. Well, if it's next Thursday, man, I got a game to go to at 7, so
I
can't be wasting time on you guys.
No worries. We Darren and I knock off around 2 every day. You'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I guess that's 3 o'clock down in Charleston. All right, that's cool.
Dog and Ducks open at 11. 2 o'clock is plenty beer o'clock.
Yeah, it's crappy hour at 2 o'clock for Darren. DC, hey, have a wonderful off weekend. Maybe get to watch some football and play with the young buck at the house. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Go Braves. Go Braves. Go Braves. There you go. David Cloninger, Post and Courier. All right, time for a timeout. John Blau up next on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle, and we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And 2 others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and on air.
All right, 12:40 Thursday afternoon. It's rainy. Careful out there as you travel around. Hopefully you've got the JB and Goldwater Show on in your cars, wherever you may be. Now it's Post and Courier Day, as we've renamed it. JB, Darren, and now John, following David Cloninger with the PNC, and right before David Shelton with the PNC, John Blau, which hopefully covering Clemson doesn't mean that he's on an injured list somewhere. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
You're okay, right? Not banged up or anything? You're going to be able to get through the next few minutes with us?
I mean, it's actually it was a close call this past weekend because I literally had to sprint from gate B4 to B19 in Chicago for my connecting flight because literally delays up to the minute of when I was supposed to depart from Chicago to Greenville. So I'm lucky I didn't pull a hammy or something. I mean, it was close.
O'Hare's one of the worst travel airports. I mean,
So
it's huge, and there's no good way to get around.
Chicago and Atlanta, they're terrible.
I love Atlanta's, but
do you?
And Pittsburgh, yeah. I mean, it was Pittsburgh to Chicago was the problem because they only had one mechanic working, and they had a busted O-ring on the plane, and it took 3 hours to get out of there. 3 hours later than we should have. And so and then for that B terminal from 14 to 19, that is not a short distance. That's like a nice little mile, it feels like.
What is an O-ring?
Have you ever heard of have you watched documentaries about the Challenger disaster? There was a busted O-ring that ended up being why that space shuttle exploded. I was actually talking to Gene Sapikoff before I went on the plane. He's like, don't research an O-ring, John. Don't look anything up. And I was like, no, I already know about that. I watched too many documentaries. So yeah, no, it's like a seal. It's like a thing that's around the engine. Basically, it was leaking oil out of the engine, and so they had to come and replace that. And then you feel nice and safe going into the air after that. And,
no way, John. I hate planes anyways. I would have walked my rear end from Chicago right back to the great state of South Carolina. No chance I would have gotten on that plane. But you're a brave man, and you're here. So that's good.
I'm here. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're glad to have you. You're having better luck than it seems like most of the Tigers roster. Just a couple of years ago in Columbia, South Carolina, like 40% of the Gamecocks roster was banged up. 2 years later, Clemson's got about 40% of their roster, it looks like, banged up, and a lot of stars. I think I saw this morning somewhere there might only be 2 scholarship running backs available this weekend. I'm assuming Will Shipley is one of them. So give us the latest on the injury front as the Tigers welcome the Noles to town.
Yeah, it's actually Kobe Pace who's going to be out with COVID, so it's not quite an injury, but it is still another just crazy circumstance for this Clemson team. So it will be Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, the 2 freshmen, are going to be the only scholarship running backs available for Clemson. Dabo Sweeney actually had a pretty interesting statistic to kind of outline all the issues they've had. I think it was last year in 12 games, they had 40 different starters, and that was the COVID year. That was supposed to be the craziest year any coach was going to deal with. And then they've had 43 different starters so far this year through 7 games. Without, COVID's not supposed to be as big of an issue. At the same time, they lost Hunter Rayburn, Joseph Ngata, and Kobe Pace in back-to-back weeks to COVID. And then you also, again, like all the different injuries. Braden Galloway's out for the year now. Obviously, Brian Brazee's already been out. Frank Ladson's out for the year with a groin. EJ Williams is just getting back. He's been in and out, the wide receiver. We could go on for an hour if I listed all of them. But yeah, just a ton of injuries, hard to get continuity, and it just adds to the problems that Clemson's already had offensively, especially with the offensive lines shifting. And Matt Bockhorst is another one of the headliners who was playing really well at guard after he moved from center, and he tears an ACL and his career's over because he's already had a handful of knee surgeries at this point. So yeah, just a ton of issues, and it's not made Clemson's life any easier with the problems they were already having.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the Bockhorst situation. I mean, he is a guy who's been described to me, John, as one of the heart and soul type guys of this football team. Obviously, one of the better, if not the best, offensive linemen that they had, leadership, all that type stuff. And now he can't play. I mean, when I ask what type of impact does this injury have, I don't mean on the field. I know it's going to be an impact on the field, but what type of impact is it off of it?
Yeah, I asked Dabo Sweeney those questions just because Bockhorst has been described as one of those few guys on the offense, and that's part of the characteristics of this offense. It's actually kind of a quiet group. A lot of these are laid-back guys. I mean, Jordan McFadden might be the best player on that offensive line, but he's just naturally more of a laid-back guy. DJ Uyunglele is too. Bockhorst was one of the few guys that on the sideline would just rip into guys if they weren't doing their job. And he's been around for a long time, fifth-year senior. He's seen the winning. He's seen the championships. He knows what it takes. And again, going back to all those knee surgeries he's had, he's gained so much respect for how much pain and suffering he has worked through for all these years to get Clemson where it is. And when he spoke, people listened. And so you no longer have that guy in the huddle. He's still going to be there on crutches at games, at practices, he says, trying to be a leader. But really, now on the field for an offense that's already got so little experience, who's going to speak up and say something when things are going wrong? And Will Putnam, Bockhorst's roommate, he says he's a guy who wants to step up a little bit. He's a guy who's more than a year into being a starter at right guard. He has the potential to do that. Davis Allen, the tight end, is a guy that they say is emerging as a leader. But then getting back to what I was talking about, I asked Dabo Sweeney the question of how do you replace this? And he said actually it's probably on the coaching staff, at this point. There's just a lot of guys out there that need to be led right now. They're looking for leadership. And it's up to the coaching staff with Bockhorst's exit to kind of fill in a little bit of that void and really, really take these guys, by the tail and kind of help lead them. And the coaching staff, again, with all the injuries, with all the movement, there's been so much to deal with. But now there's a little bit more to deal with, too, in terms of just leadership, because you don't have Bockhorst out there as an extension of you kind of on the field.
John Blau covering the Tigers for the Post and Courier 1247 on a Thursday afternoon. Where are they, John, mentally? I mean, last week was a pretty grueling contest up there in Pittsburgh, falling 27-17. Got off to a good start, or a decent start, at least with the lead there in the first quarter, but could not hang on to it. Kenny Pickett ended up having a nice day. And in addition to the fact that Pittsburgh is pretty good this year, and obviously the Tigers' struggles have been noted from week to week, it was a week where I think they beat themselves as much as anything. I mean, the one thing that really stood out were the drop passes, the one to Shipley, which was, in the breadbasket, and there's a couple of others there. So, now they're 4-3 and 3-2 in the league, which puts them at third place in the Atlantic. Where are they from a mentality standpoint with FSU, Louisville, and so on and so forth on deck?
Yeah, I mean, they're saying all the right things in terms of they're not splintering and, they're trying to keep, forward focused and not looking in the rearview mirror and all that. But you do have to wonder, again, we talked about this, every week with Clemson, just because, one loss was a lot, after Georgia, and then two losses is not something they're used to. Now 3. I mean, that's definitely a, unprecedented situation for what they had recently. I guess the hope is, and Tony Elliott expressed this, is that they play for each other now. I mean, it's you're not really playing for the CFP anymore. The ACC is probably out the door as well. It's kind of just playing for each other and having that pride and kind of that, pulling for of your teammate and for your team. They really had an opportunity here to kind of pull together for each other. whether they do or not, I think that's really going to be tested against Florida State. We'll see kind of how they respond. This is not a bad Florida State team. I mean, they started the year 0-4. They've won 3 straight games. I mean, they beat Syracuse, North Carolina, UMass. Obviously, not a great team, but they seem to be a team that's kind of turned the corner to an extent, Florida State. So it's going to pose a lot of challenges, and Clemson has to play their A game. They can't be sleepwalking through this game or the rest of the season. So we'll see if they're able to, kind of play for each other and really find that motivation in that.
So their last 2 meetings in 2018 and 2019, the Tigers outscored Florida State 104-24. Last year, they probably would have done something similar, but they didn't play the game after traveling down to Tallahassee, and then that whole strange, I don't know if anybody ever still got the truth of what exactly happened. I know a lot of Tigers fans think that Florida State said, the hell it is, we don't want to play it, or thought the Noles said that. So I know Dabo's been asked about Mike Norvell and Florida State and his feelings. What have his responses been like as they're set? I mean, this is a game. Florida State, John, as you know, used to own this series, and it really turned into a rivalry when Clemson started becoming who they are today. Now they've won 5 straight, and now you've got a couple of coaches that apparently don't get along. So what have Dabo's responses been like?
Yeah, I mean, I think he tried to downplay it. It's kind of like the LSU thing the week before. I mean, I think, he was asked if he had buried the hatchet, quote unquote, with Mike Norvell, and he said, I didn't know there was a hatchet, and tried to really, really quickly turn it and say, I have a lot of respect for Mike Norvell, what he's done with that program, and, such a tough situation they were in, and it turned it around. So he's been very complimentary of Mike Norvell when he was asked about it. Says he's been on conference calls with him. He saw him at Bobby Bowden's service, obviously, during fall camp when Bobby Bowden passed away. So he's trying to make it as they're, good buddies now. There's no problem there. Whether that's the truth or not, whether there's a little bit of angst still lurking beneath the surface, not exactly sure. But as far as what he's telling us, it's not that big of a deal. They've kind of moved on.
You did mention Bobby Bowden. This is somebody that Coach Sweeney's had a lot of respect for a long time, back when he was a young kid, becoming a college football player, certainly a coach, and then a head coach, and where he is today. How is Clemson honoring Bobby Bowden this weekend?
Yeah, so they're going to have a moment. I don't know exactly what it's all going to entail. I actually talked to Tommy Bowden about it, and he says he's waiting for a schedule, and they're going to tell him where to go. He's just going to go wherever they tell him to go. But it is unique that obviously a coach from another program, Florida State, again, he talked about them being rivals for so long, is going to be honored at a Clemson game when they're playing Florida State. But we could go into the whole background. I mean, obviously Dabo had a huge amount of respect for Bobby Bowden. Obviously played for Tommy and got to know Bobby a little bit, just the way he ran his program and kind of mimicked Florida State a little bit, the way they do things, retaining assistant coaches for a long time, very faith-based center program, relationship focused, all that. Just had a whole lot of respect for him. And supposedly he was at the, service for Bobby Bowden, saw Tommy, and I think that Dan Radakovich was supposedly standing right there. And, Dabo just told Tommy, hey, we should bring you guys up. We should honor your father. And Tommy's quote to me, which will be in the story tomorrow, was something like, Dan must have swallowed real hard right there, because he kind of put him on the spot. It wasn't the administration saying they wanted to honor Bobby Bowden. It was Dabo saying, I want to do it. And Dan kind of went along with it. So, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what that's like and what that all entails. But there's no question. Dabo Sweeney went off for 10 minutes about Bobby Bowden again when he was asked about him this week's press conference. So there's no question that he loves the guy and really wanted to honor him.
All right, John, final couple of minutes here as it pertains to the football game itself. Whoever wins is going to be up ahead of the other in the standings. Tigers would drop to 3-3. The Noles would improve to 3-2 if they pull it off. If not, you get it. Clemson will be 4-2. Florida State 2-3. Florida State's been a tale of 2 seasons through 7 games, because they started 0-4, and then Darren and myself and pretty much everybody else on planet Earth said, Oh my God, if they lose to Syracuse and go 0-5, Mike Norvell might be ushered out of Tallahassee in a hurry, but they didn't. They won 33-30, and since then they upset North Carolina, which not a lot of people saw happening. And then last week they had UMass, and it's UMass, you win. So here they are at 3-4 with Clemson, NC State, Miami, Boston College, and Florida to wrap it up this year. It's a difficult stretch for the Noles to finish things up. What's important in this game? What is important from what the standpoint of what the Noles have done well over the last few weeks to kind of get their season back on track? And on the Clemson side, where they were just missing a couple of times last week with all these injuries, what are they looking to try to accomplish that would establish an identity for them this weekend against Florida State?
Yeah, I mean, it's cliche to talk about, but it starts up front in this game. I mean, Florida State, their two running backs, Deshaun Corbin and Treshaun Ward, both average more than 7 yards per carry. I mean, Corbin's at 7.9, Ward's at 7.4.
Wow.
And you add that with Jordan Travis, their quarterback, who's their third leading rusher, also has 344 yards. I mean, they're going to pound you on the ground if they can. And so it's really going to be up to Clemson's defensive line. I mean, Tyler Davis coming back last week from that biceps injury, that was huge. Was on a pitch count, quote unquote, in terms of how many plays he could play, but supposedly he's not limited this week. Having him, Baruch, Aroro, Trey Williams, all those guys being able to win up front is going to be especially huge in this game. And then offensively for Clemson, again, I guess we haven't talked about it yet, but the big question is, quarterback. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be DJ Uyunglele or Tyson Pumachan? Supposedly it's been opened up a little bit in terms of evaluation during the week. But you want to see some rhythm from that offense. Again, the offensive line getting shaken up a little bit more with Matt Bockhorst out. Is it Hunter Rayburn at center, or Mason Trotter? Is it, Marcus Tate, the freshman? Does he take another step forward? Whoever can control that football and, be able to obviously put up more points. It sounds like John Madden saying that, but, just playing better offensive football, in the trenches, that's probably going to be important on both sides of the ball, I would say. And then again, it's going to be Will Shipley and Phil Maffa on the ground. I mean, can those guys, keep the offense rolling and moving the chain?
What do you take from DJ's drive after he was benched and the offense's performance on that drive?
It was a good sign. I mean, that's one of those things that Dabo Sweeney has talked about. He talked about it after the Georgia game. He played 2.5 quarters of not very good football, and then he responds though. Like he figures out a way to get them their 3 points in that game, and have a nice drive and put that together. In this game, obviously he gets benched. He comes back. He goes on a touchdown drive. The one thing that Dabo Sweeney hated was he wasn't able to get the ball back for him with 8 minutes to go and see if DJ could do some more. But they talk about it a lot with DJ. He's definitely a guy who's trying, and he works really hard, and he doesn't get. He might have happy feet sometimes in the pocket. He might miss throws, but he doesn't get completely down on himself. And that's an encouraging sign for a young quarterback. And then seeing that after he got benched, seeing him come back and go down the field the way he did, that was encouraging. Whether they decide that, Tyson Pumachan gives him a better matchup this week or not with DJ, or where DJ is in terms of his consistency, which is, again, the main thing. Just being able to be comfortable in the pocket, deliver the football, not miss on throws. That's going to be important. But in terms of his moxie and his makeup, I think that him being able to come back from that benching and go on a touchdown drive, I think was really important for Clemson to see.
Yeah, I guess, and we'll let you run here in just a second, but I guess what I was listening to you earlier about Pumachan and DJ, I wasn't really aware that there was much consideration for Pumachan over DJ simply because the fact that he came back in the game. But Uyunglele is expected to start the game, right?
We don't know. I mean, we were given the depth chart, and it does list DJ at the top, but I was told that that's only because that's how the game ended, that everything was still being evaluated throughout the week.
Wow.
And so, I mean, that was asked after the game. I mean, they asked the coaches, is DJ under evaluation this week? And they said, yeah, everybody is. So it wasn't specific to quarterbacks, but everybody's everything's open this week. That, you start 4-3 and some of those mistakes, again, with DJ with the shovel pick six and, almost had another interception before the end of the first half. They just want to, take the pressure off a little bit in terms of like have a little bit of a step back, young guy, and see how he responds. At the end of the day, maybe it's just, setting it up so he can compete and win the job again back during the week. Maybe that gives him a little bit of confidence. Not sure. I mean, I would still expect DJ to be the guy just if I was guessing, but in terms of itself being set in stone, absolutely not. So I'll wait and see, I guess. Stay tuned.
That's why we have you on, because I don't know things like this. John Blau covering the Tigers. I know one thing, that play, even though it was dropped last week to Will Shipley, was beautifully designed and executed, except for the end where, you got to catch it, and he didn't do it. But I bet you they might show that again. So Florida State might need to keep an eye in the backfield this week. John, have a wonderful time covering the game coming up at 3:30 on Saturday afternoon. Have a great weekend. It's going to be a brisk weekend up there in the upstate, and so I hope that's perfect for all of you. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. John Blau does a wonderful job covering the Tigers for the P&C. Post and Courier Day Thursday continues. We need to hit a timeout when we return the national anthem. We'll get you geared up, fired up, and ready to rock and roll for David Shelton, Mr. High School Everything. We got some football. We got some state championships to get to, and volleyball. Where are the playoffs going to be played, and all that type of stuff. It's going to be fun. Hang tight. JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Cloninger, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Cloninger, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour, Thursday afternoon. It is Power Hour, brought to you by Wando Power Equipment. WandoPower.com to rent everything on planet Earth that you can use outside. Literally anything that's ever been invented, it's there. Wando Power Equipment, located over on Daniel Island on Clemens Ferry Road, owned by the Price family, has been forever since their inception, about 30 years ago. They're big Clemson fans. I don't hold that against them. They're wonderful people anyways. I played baseball with one of the brothers. One of the other brothers dated my sister.
Oh, and you don't hold it against them?
Not now. I did then. We're friends now. Now they're wonderful people. Seriously, if you need anything like a sod cutter, you need to go out there and get the front yard cleaned up before the winter gets here. Whatever it is, Wando Power Equipment, WandoPower.com. JB and Darren and David rounds out Post and Courier Day on our program here. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Thanks to the other David, Cloninger. And thanks to John Blau and now David Shelton, who is also our food connoisseur. And today is National Chocolate Day.
Yes.
So, David Shelton, what is your favorite chocolate?
Okay, I was wondering. David, let me get him back. I was wondering, just because of something on this end, if he was actually still there or not. But that's our answer. He's not.
Yeah, so he doesn't like chocolate. Or he's in a chocolate coma.
If you don't like chocolate, you're not my friend. I'm very comfortable saying that.
It is National Chocolate Day. Everybody should eat something chocolate today. And there's so many ways to do it. And I'll bet you he knows how to do it. Is there a chocolate mac and cheese?
If you could leave a message.
Is there a chocolate mac and cheese out there? That would be disgusting.
Well, you know what? If you go to one of these fairs around, they can fry anything. So if they fry mac and cheese, then you can put chocolate on that and have a fried chocolate mac and cheese. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Dude, I don't know that I can get behind that. Anything. Yeah, the fair starts today here, the Coastal Carolina Fair, which, of course, it just exited Columbia, the state fair. I'm pretty sure that the strange fried fair foods are about the same at all fairs, right? Like, yeah. I mean, there's fried butter everywhere. I mean, all of you that are in our Share Healthcare chat lines, all of you, and I know there's a lot of you in there. Have any of you ever actually eaten the fried butter at the fair?
No, that's nasty. I've had a fried Snickers though. Craig just put something in a Snickers in the microwave.
I've done that. I've done that.
The first time I had it, true story, it was at Cane Bay when from the concession stand they brought a fried Snickers up to us. It was great.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember who won the game. It was years ago, but
I've had the Snickers ice cream.
That's good too.
Snickers ice cream is legit. Is David there or is he still eating? So David, it's Post and Courier Day. We've had all of your colleagues on, and you are, we saved the best for last, that type thing. But you're also our food connoisseur. It's National Chocolate Day. If you ask, like, there's a lot of questions you could ask. What's your favorite book? What's your favorite car? Who's your favorite team? What's your favorite restaurant? It is a really difficult question to ask. What is your favorite chocolate or chocolate food? Because you can do anything with chocolate. That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, that is. And unfortunately, because of my health situation with my diabetes, I can't partake in Chocolate Day, but I did used to before I had diabetes, which is probably why I got diabetes, because I did partake in Chocolate Day. But yeah, I love chocolate. It is, I have dabbled with the sugar-free chocolate. It is not the same. And it's more, I think it's more of a mental thing with me, just knowing that it's not real chocolate. But chocolate is great. Chocolate is one of man's great creations. I haven't had chocolate mac and cheese yet, but don't put it past me to try that.
Is there chocolate mac and cheese? There's not, is there?
I can make it. I mean,
Oh.
If Darren can whip up the Kraft in the box thing, I can pour some Hershey's chocolate syrup in it and have at it.
When we were trying to get in touch with you, I threw out the idea of, look, you can fry mac and cheese at the fair, throw some chocolate on it, and voila, chocolate mac and cheese.
I think that would probably be okay, really, to be honest with you.
All right. Yeah, man.
And I'm not one to mess up mac and cheese. Now, I we've had this discussion many times about mac and cheese but I mean, chocolate might work.
Wait a second here. Now, Jamie Churchill says that you should try chocolate gravy over biscuits.
Sounds good.
That is
chocolate gravy. Well, I don't know what that is. That just melted chocolate, or
haven't you seen like the chocolate fountains?
Yeah, is that what that is?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Is that gravy?
I don't know. I would consider it in this instance.
I have never.
I could put chocolate on the biscuit. I don't have a problem with that. I think I could do that.
I mean, essentially, a chocolate biscuit is a brownie, right?
Yeah,
sort of. Yeah.
So
a form of in the same family.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big brownie guy. Brownies, and now we're tomorrow. Sunday is Halloween, so we have the Reese's pumpkins, and then soon we'll have the Reese's Christmas trees, and then we'll have the Reese's eggs for Easter. What is it? Have y'all ever? I mean, David, I know you're not eating chocolate right now, but for all the Reese's lovers out there, the pumpkins and the Christmas trees and the eggs are all way better than regular Reese's cups. And I still don't know why. I don't know if it's more peanut butter or what it is.
I totally agree. I love Reese's now. I love chocolate and peanut butter. Mm-hmm. But you're right. The Halloween and the Easter and the Christmas Reese's, they just taste different. I don't know why. And I still dabble. I'll take a double insulin shot and eat a Reese's. but yeah. I agree with you. I've always said that. I'm always like, why does the Halloween Reese's taste different than the regular Reese's? But, I thought that was just me. I thought I was just being weird.
No, it is. It is what I don't know. I don't know why, but it's. I think maybe it's just more peanut butter. I'm not sure. I don't know, but I did pick up and we'll get to football here. I did pick up all the candy for trick or treating this weekend for us to give out. And I brought it home. I mean, literally everything. And my wife looked over and she saw the Reese's ones and she goes, I don't know that those are going to make it to Sunday. I was like, hey, look here. They better make it to Sunday because there was only about 3 bags left and I got one of them. So
I've made it a point to not buy Halloween candy until the day before that night. Because if I buy it early, the poor kids are going to go without.
I do have breaking news from a non-sponsor, but according to one of our listeners on the audio side in Podbean, Triangle in Avondale, which is right by DB's, and DB's is a sponsor. So go to DB's and get a cheesesteak, but then go to Triangle and get fried mac and cheese on a stick.
I've seen that. I haven't had it.
And then dip it in chocolate and test.
I've seen it. All right. Chocolate gravy, as Jamie said. All right. We could literally do this all day. It is also National First Responders Day, and there are just not many groups of people in the world that I've got more respect for than them. So if you see if you're at a gas station, if you're in a grocery store, if you're in a restaurant, and you can cover a first responders, big gulp or a beer or a few bucks in the gas tank or something like that, do it. They deserve it, man.
To that point in Halloween, this is a really good idea. I never even thought of it, but our extra Halloween candy are my daughter's. Last year, my daughter and wife took it to the fire station nearby and dropped it off. So when you have extra for First Responders Day or a couple days late, bring it there. Do that.
Sweet. They won't be. I'd rather just buy them a tank of gas. I'd rather fill up the fire truck than give them my bag of Reese's peanut butter cups. All right, David. So I read your thank God. I read your playoff scenario column this morning from a couple of days ago. I've been meaning to read it, and I finally went back and did it on the Post and Courier .com. I love this one, though. Everybody, just hold on to your seats for a second. This is in Region 7-5A, which Goose Creek has won the region. Second place is open to 3 teams entering Friday. This is from the desk of David Shelton. K-Bay certainly sits in second place and will travel to county rival Berkeley this week. Berkeley and Stratford also have secured playoff spots, but the final standings are in limbo. A Cane Bay win over Berkeley locks up second and sends Berkeley to fourth, with Stratford finishing third. However, a Berkeley win over Cane Bay would put Stratford in second place, followed by Berkeley and then Cane Bay. Should Berkeley beat Cane Bay by 48 points, the Stags would be runner-up, followed by Cane Bay and Stratford in third and fourth, respectively. What does that mean?
You like that, huh?
What does it mean? You like wait till the games are over.
Hey, I tried to be thorough. I tried to get every possible scenario.
So they're all in the playoffs, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But second's important because you get a home game. So, I mean, Cane Bay can make this real simple if they just beat Berkeley. Then it's Berkeley, Stratford. Then it's Cane Bay, Stratford, Berkeley, and we move on. Berkeley will not beat Cane Bay by 48 points. I can guarantee that. Okay. And so it just basically comes down to who wins that game, and Stratford could jump all the way to second and have a home game, which would be cool for them. But, Berkeley struggled lately and Cane Bay's pretty good, but it's a big rivalry. It's a pretty significant game, whether there's playoff spots on the line or not. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it comes out. I like these. I do these stories like this, and I hate doing them because I usually just want to write one sentence. That would be my prep column for the week. Check with me Friday night at midnight. Yeah. And that would be it. As that Friday night at midnight, everything will be figured out. But, we try to give the scenarios, and that is the most difficult region still in play. Everything else is kind of, we kind of know what's going to happen.
I have one question for you before we move on from that. Like, did you sit there with a sheet of scratch paper and you're like, okay, so now wait a second here. Now, if they beat, oh no, that can't be the case. If so and so, what was that moment like to you? Did you have a F it moment and just let me just write what I'm thinking?
I learned a long time ago from my father, who was a builder, and I worked in construction for when I was growing up in high school and all that. And he always said, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this, I texted the assistant AD at Cane Bay, and I said, so how's this playoff thing work out? He texted me back. I wrote it in the paper. He had already done all the math. He had already done all the work. So I just, it's called sources, Jamie. You use your sources.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no way do I. Lou Bajak, who is great at the state paper prep guy, he likes to do that kind of stuff and figure it all out. And I'm like, dude, let me know when you figure all that stuff out, and then just shoot me an email, and I'd appreciate it. Because otherwise, I'll wait until the brackets come out on Saturday morning. But no, I used to be, when I was younger, in the 90s, so to speak, I would be one of those guys. But now that I'm old, I'm like, heck, other people can do this. Why do I got to do it? Kind of like washing your car. I could go out and wash my car by hand with a hose and a rag, or I could go pay $8 and drive through a machine and have it washed for me. Work smarter, not harder. That's me.
Good point. Well, all right, Mr. Smart Guy. It looks like you've all that stuff we went through with Region 7 there. It looks like Region 8 was fairly simple this week. Who'd you have to call for that one?
Oh, I figured that out on my own.
Oh.
because it's pretty cut and dry. When Fort beat West Ashley and Ashley Ridge beat Somerville, boom, 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 here we go. Yep. We already know how it's going to work out. So, still Somerville Fort play this week. Big rivalry. I don't foresee Somerville winning this game, but certainly they could. But they got to score more points than they have the last 2 weeks. That's for sure. And that's a difficult task against a team like Fort Dorchester. So, I'm looking more into the bracket. Once the bracket, how these matchups look, and it looks like Fort Dorchester and Dutch Fork will be in opposite brackets in the lower state, so they would only meet if they meet in the lower state championship, which would be kind of cool. The thing about the second place team at Cane Bay region, Region 7, they would get a home game. The second place team gets a home game in the first round. Guess where they go in the second round? Dutch Fork.
Dutch Fork, yeah.
So, you almost like, I'd like to be third or fourth and not have to run into those cats. But not the way it works. Brackets are set, so you go where they tell you to go in the bracket.
David Shelton 120 on a Thursday with the Post and Courier. Let me kind of give everybody a quick summary of where it stands. Again, in Region 5A, Goose Creek has won the title, so congratulations to the Gators. They will host a first-round game. Cane Bay, Berkeley, and Stratford all in the playoffs, and that will be decided tomorrow night where Fort Dorchester has won the Region 8 5A title. West Ashley, Ashley Ridge, and Somerville in that order, 2, 3, and 4, but they're all in the playoffs as well. Region 7 4A, James Island has finished third. They'll host a playoff game next week, so congratulations to the Trojans. Hopefully their fans will show up and pack it out. Region 8 and 3A, Oceanside Christian Academy, OCA, and Joe Call, they've won it. Hanahan, BE, second and third. Oceanside Gold Jacket, Green Jacket, whatever. I know last week I pulled the War Horses instead of the Iron Horses. Thank God I got you around. Oceanside Collegiate Academy. Hanahan and BE 2 and 3. Battery Creek, North Charleston are battling for fourth in that region. Region 6 AA. Here we go. The Iron Horses of Philip Simmons High School. It won't matter what happens tomorrow night in their game against Ridgeland Hardyville, although they should win that game easily. Ridgeland Hardyville has not won a game this year. Philip Simmons has won 8 of them. They've got home field advantage throughout the lower state bracket. It's awesome for Eric Bendig. Timberland, Woodland, Burke, all trying to figure out who's going to be 2, 3, and 4 there. And Baptist Hill has won 7 single A title. Skeeza, First Baptist, and Porter Gaud, they're going to play tomorrow night. They're both in the postseason as well. So that's kind of – I was doing a bunch of research, David, and then I thank God I pulled up your Post and Courier article. Said,
you work smarter, not harder. There you go. You're getting it, baby.
Yeah, I was scratching my head going, oh, no, wait a second here. If so, no, wait. All right, so with all that being said, all right, so let's Wando and West Ashley. Wando's playing for Pride. They're not in the postseason. West Ashley, regardless of what happens tomorrow night against the Warriors, they will host a first-round playoff game the following Friday, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a non-region game. It's just basically to play out the schedule.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure because if Wando, finds gold, which right now they're probably not going to, and they pull off an upset of West Ashley, that would drop them to 4 and 5. But that doesn't mean anything. What matters is that
region standings determine your playoff seeding. They've already finished their region, so
okay.
They went 3-1 in the region, lost to Fort D.
All right, so
beat Fort D last week, by the way.
What's that?
I wanted to ask you about that. How did that happen? What happened there? How did West Ashley almost pull that off?
I think the early turnover by Fort led to an early touchdown, and then Jaleel Porter had one big play. He had a 78-yard run. But so they were up 12-0. But I've said this with you guys and with Bobby Hart and with Bill Kornblue. You got to score 30 points to beat Fort Dorchester. And they didn't do much offensively after that long run. Fort D's defense is really good. They're susceptible to that. I mean, Jaleel Porter's a really good back. He's going to break one. But then they shut him down. I think he finished like 110 yards the rest of the game, or really 40 yards the rest of the game. But and then Fort just kind of chipped away, got ahead, and once they got ahead, the way their defense was playing, you just kind of knew. Fort sometimes, I don't know if LaPrade would say it the way I say it, but sometimes they seem disinterested. They know that they can win, and they sometimes they don't play to their full potential. I mean, Zoltan Osborne, I I don't want to knock the kid, but he had his worst game of the season last week. And, 112 yards passing, he usually does that in a quarter. But they ran the ball pretty well, and their defense was very good in the second half. West Ashley didn't manage much. A couple of first downs. That's that kind of makes me wonder about Somerville Fort, but I think Fort will bring some emotion and intensity into this game because it is Somerville. But they've got to turn it up mentally from an intensity wise. If they're going to make a run in the playoffs, they can't have these slow starts and expect, hey, we're just going to come back. West Ashley plays a bunch of guys both ways. They got wore down. Yep. That's the way it is. They don't have a lot of guys, and they're playing a 5A schedule with a 3A roster, and that's going to happen when you play a team like Fort Dorchester. But again, I think if Fort can bring it mentally and bring the intensity from the get-go in the playoffs, I think they can get to Dutch Fort. I think they can get to the lower state finals. But, last year they laid an egg in the first round. River Bluff beat them. They scored 1 touchdown. They got beat 14-7 or whatever it was. They just, again, not interested, disinterested. But if they bring it mentally, they're pretty dang good. There's no question.
Is that something that's that's worrisome, or is that something that is, hey, once the playoffs are here, you're going to see the real Fort Dorchester?
Yeah, I'm one that believes that you have to build that about now, like last week, this week, into the playoffs. I don't think high school kids, can just turn that switch on. I think you have to. It'll be interesting to see how they play tomorrow night. If they go out and they roll up 45, 50 points on Somerville and beat them, 45-7 or 14 or whatever, then I'm thinking, okay, they've got it. They're there. But if they go out and win the game 21-14 and don't execute, I would be worried if I were headed to the postseason because, I'm not knocking Somerville and I'm not knocking West Ashley, but they're going to play better teams than West Ashley and Somerville in the playoffs. Maybe not first round, but, it gets tougher as you go. And the Silver Foxes are waiting at the end of that bracket. So, I feel like they have to turn it on tomorrow night. I think last year, now we had COVID and the season was discombobulated and all that, but they tried to flip that switch last year in the first round and got beat by a good River Bluff team. But that's my point. You're going to play pretty good teams after the first round, and so you got to turn it on right now. I think you have to hit the postseason on a roll, and teams like Goose Creek and Stratford that are off this week. I know you need to heal up and get some guys healthy and be at your 100% health-wise, but if I'm a coach, I would hate being off this week. I think it helps health-wise, physical health. I'm not sure it's a good thing mental health-wise, but we'll see. We'll see how they react.
Well, we'll also see First Baptist and Porter Gal to play at Porter tomorrow night, David. This is what is on the line here for both of these programs. I know that there was a couple of weeks. There was a tough stretch there for Johnny's Hurricanes. I think they lost one 48-0 and one 48-6. They bounced back and beat Pinewood, I believe, last week by a couple of points. So they haven't had the year that they've been used to having for the last few, but they get a great chance to beat a rival in the Cyclones tomorrow night. So what's at stake for both of these programs?
Well, they'll both be in the playoffs, but if First Baptist could win, they would finish second in their conference, which would be a home game in the first round. If Porter Gal wins, I think it's a 3-way tie between Lawrence Manning, First Baptist, Porter Gal, and they all kind of beat each other kind of thing. So it would go to some sort of point thing. Now, it would probably mean that one of those two teams would go on the road in the first round. Plus, it is First Baptist Portugal. I mean, their campuses are just a few miles apart, and they're rivals. They're rivals in every sport, particularly in basketball, but definitely in football. And I think Johnny's team, at First Baptist, they've been hit hard with injuries.
Yeah,
they're playing a lot of young guys. I think he texted me this week and said they had one senior playing, and he's the kicker.
Yep, I got that text this morning.
Wow.
And so I mean, they're really trying to piece it together. But beating Pinewood, that game was close, and Pinewood's much improved, so that was good for them to win that game. I think the young man playing quarterback, McCombs, I think he's their fourth quarterback.
He is
to playing this year, and they've been pretty good on defense. They got Davian Brown, the running back. Portugal is going to run the football and be very physical. They're going to get after them pretty good. So I look for it to be a very competitive game. I think it'll be very close, probably within one score. And I'm looking forward to it. Even though it's a TV game, I am looking forward to being there.
I was talking with Johnny this morning, and he told me that senior thing. He also pointed out they had 9 guys offered last year. 7 of them are now playing collegiately. And they have 17 guys currently playing collegiately over the last however many years. I mean, this year, depth-wise, is a concern. Like David said, they're on their 4th quarterback. But the trajectory of the program, I mean, to think First Baptist is 17 guys playing in college and 7 of them signed last year, that took me by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, they've had some good players.
Mm-hmm.
They've been on a roll the last couple of years, and they've got a couple underclassmen on this team that will play college football. I mean, the linebacker Kane Moses, he's a player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy will hit you. He's not a huge guy, but I mean, they're playing at smaller colleges except for Mikey Dukes. Jalen Haywood, the receivers at Charleston Southern. I think he's redshirting there, but some of these guys, Davian Brown, the running back, he's only a sophomore. He'll more than likely play in college. Doug Fishburne, the best receiver in DB, will probably get an opportunity at a small school level. So, I mean, they have players,
yep.
But they're all underclassmen, and they've had to fill in a lot of spots with younger underclassmen. And that's kind of been tough. Now, their offensive line, if they're healthy, they're pretty dang good. They got good size for a Skeeza school. They got good size up front when they're all there, and they got a good running back. So I think it'll be a more of a running type game. I mean, Portugal does throw it a little bit, and First Baptist threw it a good bit last week. So maybe that part of their game has come back. That's the biggest thing at First Baptist. I mean, for a couple of years they had Will Daniels.
Yep.
And he was very solid. He's a very solid high school quarterback and could make plays with his arm and could run a little bit. And then, so they were starting the year with a very inexperienced quarterback. And then he got hurt in a car accident. And then, so that experience at that position just kept going lower and lower and lower. And I've said it many, many times. When you have a quarterback, you can win a lot of games in high school. When you don't, it's going to be very difficult because that's just such an important position on any level, but particularly in high school.
Yeah.
How about Woodland and Timberland, David? So obviously, I'm assuming whoever wins this is going to be in second place in Region 6 AA. Is that true? Burke is in the mix as well, though, right?
Well, Burke beat Woodland, so they're in the mix. I think Timberland should win the game, and they will finish second, and they'll get a home game.
Okay, gotcha.
I saw them last week. I see some good things. I think they got a couple of really good players, but Philip Simmons did very well against them. So I kind of worry about Timberland going forward in the playoffs. I did see some things that would concern me, but I also want to credit Philip Simmons because they came ready to play. They knew what was on the line. The excitement level of their guys was off the charts, and they played very well. But I think Timberland's going to beat Woodland, and then And then I believe the way it will shake out after that will be Burke will be third and Woodland will be fourth.
What else is going on around the state that is that you'll have your eyes on, as we kind of wrap this thing up, final weekend, and then we'll know where everybody's going as far as the playoffs go. But outside of our area, what else is going on in the Palmetto State's borders?
There's some pretty key games. York and South Point are going to play for a region title. That's going to be a heck of a football game. York has really bounced back. Dean Boyd is there in his third year and has really turned that program around. South Point is South Point. In 5A, Hannah and Hillcrest will decide that region title. I think Hannah's going to beat Hillcrest, but Hillcrest has a shot. Dorman, Spartanburg play Friday night. If Spartanburg wins, they will win that region. And you talk about a rebuilding project. That guy came from Chapman and took over a program that was really struggling and struggled last year, but he is got him going now. Now Dorman's going to be a tough place, a tough win. But I mean, if Dorman wins, it's crazy how that region is going to shake out. I don't even, again, guys like Lou and other guys can figure that out, and I'll read about it online. But so there are some games a lot of games around the state that are for second place. And I can't stress enough, second place means a home game in the playoffs. You don't want to go on the road if you can avoid it. I mean, at some point everybody has to, I guess, but you want to try to get that first round home game and kind of propel yourself into the second round. So a lot of games tonight in all classifications will be those type of games. A lot of rivalry games at the end of the year, Chapin, Lexington, people like that, which also is for second place in that region behind Dutch Fork. So there's some, there's some South Florence, West Florence will be a huge 4A game because South can finish second if they win, and if they lose, they could drop all the way to fourth, and they're pretty good. I mean, they're a one-loss team, and or are they a two-loss? I think they might have two losses.
Both have
either
two.
way,
Yeah.
them and West Florence are very good. And that whole region over there with Myrtle Beach and Hartsville and those two Florence schools is very competitive. So a lot of real good games, a lot of games that mean something, and a few that don't have a whole lot of meaning, but will just be to try to win your last game, so to speak.
I think Myrtle and North Myrtle play this week as well. So if North Myrtle pulls a big upset, that could cause a ruckus over there in that region as well. I think, what is that, region 6? 4A? Yeah.
Yeah, and North Myrtle beat them twice last year. So
Right.
Myrtle Beach is going to have their antenna up because they got beat twice last year by those Cats. On North Myrtle made the state finals and beat them in the lower state finals. So they'll have their antenna up, and Myrtle Beach is probably the better team this year. But again, it's a rivalry game. 20 miles apart, anything can happen in these games.
David, before we let you run, I'll get a couple parting shots in here. One, volleyball. Porter Gout has won the state championship. I saw the celebration out there at the North Charleston Athletic Center.
They're going Dawn Staley shouting out Mariana almost accidentally, like trying to recruit her to the Gamecocks and then realizing she was going to Texas.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, and she's not a basketball player either.
No.
But she's an incredible volleyball player. And I'm going to tell you this. I was at the mat, and those two teams could win the state championship in any classification at any level in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying they would, but they could. Porter Gout has beaten Wando this year. Now, in a championship setting, who knows? But they're as good as Wando. And Cardinal Newman, the list of teams they beat during the season is unbelievable. I mean, I'm talking Aiken, River Bluff, Dorman, Carolina Forest, Camden. All these teams are still alive in the playoffs in their respective classifications. Dorman, I mean, we might be looking at a Dorman-Wando finals next week in 5A, and the two Skeeza schools have beaten those two schools. I mean, it was a really good volleyball atmosphere and match. I mean, two heavyweight. I mean, you wouldn't know if you walked in and said, who's playing, but you didn't know what classification, you would not have been able to tell that they were, quote unquote private schools. They were getting after it, and they were talented. I mean, Cardinal Newman was really good. So Portugal beating them was a nice victory, because that one could have went. I mean, obviously it went 5 sets, but it could have literally went either way, all the way through. It was really incredible.
Yeah, congratulations to both programs. I know Portugal's going to lose a bunch. I'm not sure about Cardinal Newman. Other volleyball state championships are coming up as well. By the way, that should be a nice reminder for anybody that just enjoys high school sports, David, that at the beginning of the volleyball season, when they have that tournament, and there's a big tournament that's here. I know Dorman hosts one, and generally Wando, at least used to always host one. They always have the best teams in the state.
They had it this year.
You need to go. People need to go watch that. Like, if you just like high school sports, like, they're literally all the best teams in the state from all classifications that play. So go check that out. And there's no chance that I'm going to let you get off the phone, Mr. High School Mac and Cheese Chocolate Guy, without getting your thoughts on the Braves coming home 1-1. Truist is going to be popping tomorrow night and hopefully through the weekend as Atlanta rolls out Ian Anderson to try to go up in the series tomorrow night. But it's been a long time. I know you're a big Braves fan, and Atlanta's got a chance to win a World Series, David. It's amazing.
Yeah, they got to win tomorrow. I agree. I was thoroughly disappointed with Max Reed last night early. They were hitting foul balls on the nose. So that worries me that he wasn't getting a lot of swing and misses early. And I thought they could win game 2 and go back 2-0 after winning game 1. But I think Ian Anderson's got to show up tomorrow, and the bats have to, this is a game the Braves can win, because game 4 is probably going to be a bullpen game, although their bullpen's been really good. So I just feel like at home, if you can take a 2-1 lead going into Saturday, they really have a shot to close it out. They don't want to go back to Houston. Mm-hmm. And although I'm always one of those that, even though Max has not been great in the playoffs, the last couple of outings, if you get to a game 6 and he has to pitch, I feel like he's gonna show up. But losing Morton just really hurts. But those guys in the bullpen, they got some gamers, and
Yep.
It wouldn't shock me. I was talking with my son, who analyzes the Braves like a professional, and I was like, maybe they hold AJ Minter until Saturday. He don't pitch in the bullpen, and maybe he starts. And he's been really good he's a postseason guy. Mm-hmm. He's not much during the regular season. I mean, he's so bad he gets sent back to the minors, but in the postseason, he's been really good the last couple of years. So I hate to say they could, if you don't win tomorrow, you can't win the series. But I think going down 2-1 and not having wins from Max or Ian, I think it's going to be very tough. But God, I hope that they can win tomorrow, and then you have 2 games at home that you can, 2 more games at home that you can close this thing out. But if Houston wins 1, we go back to Houston. But I don't really think that the home field, Houston, I don't think winning at Houston's that difficult. I hope it is difficult to win in Atlanta for Houston, because, like you said, those fans are going to be crazy. That shop's going to be going. It's a different atmosphere. And, so I hope they can feed off that. But, gosh, if they could just score, 5 runs, I think they win. If they score 5 runs in any of these games, I think they win it. I think they're good enough on the mound.
One of the crazier stats from last night, 7th time this postseason that the Astros have won by 5 or more, and that ties a record that the Red Sox set. So when they win, they win. I mean, when they're winning games,
they don't win the close ones. They win. They blow you out. Yep. That's why I said, if you can get to 5, and the pitching's just good, it doesn't have to be great, but that just seems to be the magic number. Get to 5, and I think you got a shot.
Yeah, you got to have quality right-handers as well. Kyle Wright and guys like Kyle Wright and Luke Jackson, who, of course, Luke pitched well in game one the other night, but I know that there's a lot of Braves fans that get a little worrisome when you see him on the mound. You better pull for him because they're going to need him to help win this thing. They're as valuable as anybody, but tomorrow night it'll be Ian Anderson's game. By the way, it's something since 2010, it's something like 36 of 66 games played in the World Series have been won by the visiting team. So, and that includes all 7, as Darren pointed out in the
2 years ago, right?
In the National World Series. So, yeah, I mean, it's
that's why I said I don't think
there's not home field advantage.
Home field in baseball. I've never been like, we got to go there. It's all pitching. It's all pitching. It doesn't matter if you're playing on Mars.
Yeah,
you got to pitch. And in high school, they say, we got to go play over there. It's no big deal. It's the same field, and the guy that's standing 60 feet 6 inches away is the difference in the game.
Yep.
For both sides. Whichever one pitches best is going to win.
Yep.
And that's why I said it's nice to be at home, but I don't use the home. I don't think home field in baseball is near what it is in football.
No.
When you go to Pittsburgh, they say, well, that's the same field. But football's a different animal because it's an intense game. It's, you get pumped up to play at home. Baseball, you almost have to be kind of even keeled. You can't get too emotional, too intense because, you start swinging at bad pitches, you start pressing, that kind of thing. Which is why baseball is the greatest game on earth, because it's the hardest game on earth.
Yep.
But like I said, my son was like, well, we're going back to Atlanta for 3 games. I was like, man, home field don't mean that much to me. I mean, it just doesn't.
No,
I think it's all about the guy on the bump, man.
I agree. There's a factor in home field advantage at certain points of a game, but yeah, overall, it's
Sure.
Yeah,
I think in the bottom of the ninth or the top of the ninth, there certainly is, and guys like Matzik who feed off that energy, what he did against the Dodgers that night. Sure, there is a factor, but to me, as a guy that's been around baseball all my life, I don't get all up into the who's home and who's away. I look at who can pitch and who can.
Yeah.
And right now, Charlie Morton can't pitch, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Although I don't know why he can't pitch with a broken ankle. I mean, he
did it the other night.
He can rest all winter.
Yeah, and he did it the other night. I'm with you. I don't see what
He got guys out. I mean, what are we talking about here?
he might be a better option than some of the other guys at certain points. So
I mean, if I had a cracked fibula, I probably couldn't walk to the bathroom. But still, he's a major league pitcher. He needs to pitch.
Yeah, that's right.
Very, very fair fan take right there.
I love it.
Very fair. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
It's better than Cloninger. I love DC to death, but DC, the Braves are in the World Series for the first time in 22 years. How do you feel? Well, I just hate the world, and I don't want to come out of my dark house. And I'm like, David, lighten up, pal. They're in the World Series. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy it.
Well, I mean, you gotta feel for David though. He does cover the Gamecocks.
I know
that's a tough job.
Yeah, and roots for the Braves. That's tough.
It's a hard knock life, I tell you. It's a hard knock life. There's no doubt. Hey, man, we've kept you all day. We really appreciate it. I know you've got a big night tomorrow. Hopefully the rain goes easy on us today, so it's not too sloppy out and about. But looking forward to a wonderful weekend of high school football, and certainly looking forward to getting back with you next week so we can kick off the playoffs here in the fall of 2021. Thanks, David. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys. Take care.
And go Braves. Go Braves. There you go, David Shelton, Post and Courier. If you've been affected by Takata airbags, as in like if one hasn't deployed or if you've stepped in front of a bus because your offense only gains 15 yards in 3/4, you should head to motleyrice.com. motleyrice.com for more information. They have never and will never forget their local roots, headquartered right here in the low country of South Carolina on Charleston Harbor. motleyrice.com, owned by Joe Rice, alumni of the University of South Carolina, but he cares about everybody. Every shape, color, size, you name it. Motley Rice is here for you. motleyrice.com. All right, final time out of Thursday afternoon. When we return, we'll take a look at this weekend's Post Up Careers college football resume. It's a good weekend. Can't wait. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West. Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. Not yet, you idiot. It's Thursday. Guy on that stupid bump. Welcome back. Final 10 minutes here or so on the JB and Goldwater Show. It is Thursday, and it's going to be raining the rest of the afternoon, which that really sucks. So if you have DoorDash and you're in the low country, how about DoorDash cheesesteaks? DB's cheesesteaks, as a matter of fact. If you're going to be driving through Avondale, buy one, get one half off foot longs. Just pick them up, order them, pick them up, take them home. You can make sure you order a large boardwalk fry as well. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. How about a cheesesteak for your Thursday night football action? Because there is no World Series on tonight. So if you want to catch some college football, you've got Coastal and Troy at 7:30 on ESPN2. The Chanticleers coming off of their first loss of the year last weekend up in beautiful Boone against App State. Coastal looking to avoid 2 in a row. Troy 4-3, 2-1 in the Sun Belt. The Chants are 17-point favorites in the ball game up there at Brooks Stadium in Conway. Darren, I have not checked, and I'm going to do it.
Big NFL game.
Oh, I'm not talking about that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, go ahead. I'm checking the weather in Conway to see how this is going to affect them.
Go ahead. Yes. I know it's supposed to rain because I looked at the over-under, and it's like 50 or 51. And the forecast is rain. So
it's
a 17-point line and an over/under that was about 51 as of, say, 3 hours ago or so.
Yeah, it's turf up there, and they do get a break. It looks like right around kickoff, so they're probably going to get the thing kicked off. And then 9 o'clock tonight it comes back. So yeah. All right, in the NFL, as you mentioned, Darren, a really good one tonight. The Packers and the Cardinals
And if you're watching football in addition to Coastal, I hope you have this one on. Undefeated Arizona and 6-1 Green Bay. 3-1, by the way, away from home. And the Cardinals are 6.5-point favorites against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, a lot of interesting little things. This is the one I'll be watching. I might flip at a time to the Coastal thing. A lot of interesting stuff in this one. Green Bay's defensive coordinator out with COVID. A lot of guys on both sides, key contributors not there. J.J. Watt, one of them for the Cardinals. Hopkins probably not going. Couple receivers for Aaron Rodgers. So star-studded game still, implications still. But there's a lot of guys not playing who you'd like to have there.
Yeah, this is I think this game, I think, first of all, I would even with that said, I would go under. I would take the under. I think it's going to be a tight one.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like, what Thursday Night Football should be in the NFL. Two really good teams can't always make that happen. If I'm not mistaken, isn't Joe Buck calling the game? I mean, I
was going to say that this is the time of year.
He does it every year.
Yeah, where he could go like 7, 8, 9 days in a row calling a game because he just did 2 baseball. He's going to do this football. Then he's got 3, maybe 2, but 3 probably games in a row in Atlanta.
So get Monday off.
Yes,
for travel.
Monday off
if they go back to Houston. But yes, to your point, he flew out last night after the game in Houston, landed, which you didn't think God didn't have to go far, but went to Glendale. He'll call the game tonight, and then after that game, from what I understand, he takes a red eye to Atlanta.
Yep,
where he will get ready to go tomorrow night at Truist.
Yep.
Tough life. and he's total pro. And he's a total pro.
Yeah.
All right, this weekend in college football on the Post Up Careers College Football Weekend Resume, brought to you by our friends over there at Post Up Careers. Clearly, the headliner is a 6-8 Michigan State matchup in the Big Ten. That is where literally everybody is going to be, including College Game Day and Josh Pate, who announced that he'd be going before College Game Day. So shout out to him. Wolverines are 4-point favorites in the ball game. Clemson and Florida State obviously is a game that only a couple of years ago held so much weight in the ACC, and now it is struggling for relevance across the country, but it is a nationally televised game at 3:30 on Saturday afternoon on ESPN. Florida, Georgia, the cocktail party down there in Jacksonville, #1 dogs and Gators. Ole Miss and Auburn's got a chance to be a classic coming up on Saturday night as well. So back-to-back really good SEC games. And then you got one that's under the radar a little bit here where the Wildcats of Kentucky head to Davis Wade, and Starkville is just 1.5-point favorites and firmly on that upset alert bubble as the 12th ranked team in the country. And I'll tell you what, Darren, there's some talk, although there have also been more transfers, I think, announced this week, that Iowa better be careful with Wisconsin this weekend, which is really interesting because only 2 weeks ago, everybody had written Wisconsin off and everybody had hopped on board with Iowa. Now they're playing this weekend, and there's some folks who think, well, I don't know about that. So that's interesting. But it's a good weekend of football. This is just one of those years where not all weekends have to be sexy in order for it to be entertaining, much like, unfortunately for you, Illinois and Penn State last week.
That was not sexy. That was very, very far from sexy. If you're a Big Ten fan, though, this weekend is massive. I mean, if you're a college football fan, this is huge because you've been waiting for the Big Ten gauntlet, and here it comes. The other teams, the other conferences, they've already started and gone through a good portion of their conference gauntlet. The Big Ten is getting to it right now. You got 2 contenders in the West playing each other, 4 contenders in the East that are playing each other. Who knows how this whole thing's going to shake out. It all comes for you, by the way, again, from Post Up Careers. November 2nd, there's a discount code. You can find them online, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on the web as well. And there's a discount code for November 2nd. I think it's some job advancement day or get a new job or something like that. But a discount code for a cover letter, a resume, a LinkedIn optimization from Franklin and Post Up Careers. So make sure you're doing what you want, what you love, advancing it. Call Franklin and Post Up Careers.
Yeah. Franklin, you're the man. By the way, late Saturday night, if you just like entertaining football, how about this slate at 10 o'clock ESPN? UCLA at Utah. Virginia at BYU. That's interesting.
Mendenhall going back. First time.
Yeah. 6-2 Fresno State at 7-0 San Diego State, 10:30 CBS Sports Network, and Washington is at Stanford. That's a pretty good late night slate, man. I'm saying, yeah, that Mendenhall ordeal is going to be pretty cool to see. BYU in the second to last day of October. Probably a little chilly out there in Provo. All right, thanks to David Shelton, John Blau, David Cloninger, Darren Goldwater. Tomorrow at 12:10, Mark Kingston will join us, head baseball coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Looking forward to having him on the World Series and his team. Have a Thirsty Thursday at the Dog and Duck. We'll see you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.